Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. Okay, so this is going to be round two. Round one was a video that I put out earlier today. It's called Axis and Allies 1914, JM's Paris First Strategy Take Two. I'm referring to Jonathan Meyer. I'm using Jonathan Meyer's Kill France First strategy. I'm trying to find a way for the Central Powers to win the game, and also this is a strategy video to show you general strategy. Mostly, like I think I have a pretty good Allied strategy, but I've never been able to win the game as the Central Powers. So I'm using Jonathan's Kill France First strategy, and using my Allied strategy to try to break it. And so let me just take a walk around the board to show you what's going on. I'll just take a slow walk around so that you can see it's Austria's turn, and they are about to go. They haven't moved anything yet. They haven't. That's the units they've purchased right there. It's a fighter and 6 infantry and an artillery. But those haven't gone on. They haven't moved anything yet. Nobody's rolled anything. The second round is about to begin. So taking a look in here. Now what Jonathan wants to do, I've asked him on the comment section of the last video what he would like to do. And Africa down there doesn't really matter too much. I wouldn't worry about that too much. It's mostly over here. So what he wants to do is, and I can understand why. Let me just see if I can find a place to put this down. Okay, so what he wants to do is he wants to take out Switzerland here with the Austrians. And the reason that he wants to do that is because there are also Germans in Switzerland. So if he can take out the Austrians, or if he can take out the French and the Italians this turn, then these Germans can move into Burgundy. And there's not much back there in Burgundy. There's only 2 infantry and an artillery, whereas there are 2 German infantry and 6 artillery. I tried this strategy yesterday, and I screwed it up. I did something wrong, but it actually worked out better yesterday. The one thing I did wrong was I took these units and I went into Lorraine. And before I move anything, I just want to show you that and show Jonathan that maybe that might be a better idea. Like, I can see where you're going with this, and I can see the reasons why and everything. But let me explain to you why I think that taking Lorraine might be a better idea, so that you can think about that and see if you want to incorporate that into your strategy. If you take Lorraine here, see, the reason I was able to take Switzerland with a lot of force, and Switzerland is the key to your strategy, is going through Switzerland and getting to Burgundy. But when I took Lorraine first yesterday, then these forces, this was a contested area, and I wasn't able to move these forces over here. Whereas in take 2 of this game, I was able to move 6 infantry and 2 artillery from there, and 6 infantry and 2 artillery from there into Switzerland. And as a result, I was able to take off more Germans, and I was able to have more units left over. And that's important because, of course, now it's going to take more Austrian units to get them out of there. Also, in your original strategy video, one of the differences here is you didn't have the Allies attacking Switzerland, and this is the whole premise of my strategy. The Allied strategy is don't hang back, don't let the Central Powers dictate the game. Go after them. And so I'm going to go after them every single time. That's why you don't see a whole lot back here in reserve. I'm going to take everybody, and my philosophy is keep the front lines as far away from your capital as possible. So that's why I went after Switzerland. And as a result, you're not going to be able to get Piedmont like you wanted to as quickly as you wanted to. So I think that it's going to be pretty close, but I think that you have enough Austrians maybe to take Switzerland. You might not get it, but you know, if you don't, then you certainly have enough Germans to get it. You're going to overwhelm the French here anyway. I know you want to get through here. I'm not certain that you can do that. And you've got those guys at Piedmont that you have to worry about. And you've got the French back here that are going to be coming in after the Germans go as well. And we've got these British down here. I can also bring two British up from Transjordan down there if I want, because they're going to go before the Ottomans. So I could take these boats down there and pick them up and bring them back and put them into Piedmont. So that might be what I'm going to do. It depends on how what it looks like when the British turn comes along. So I'm not certain that this is going to work, but I mean, a lot of it depends on the rolling too. It made a big difference having that French fighter in there, and that could be the turning point in this whole strategy. Right coming up here is when Austria goes in here. They're going to be bringing their fighter in here. So who gets air superiority? Because there's a lot of artillery going in there, and whoever gets that air superiority, that might make the difference between Austria being able to get Switzerland or not. So we'll see. We'll see who wins that air superiority battle. And then back here, this is where this, and you know, like this is why I thought that in the beginning that you might not be able to do it the way you wanted to, and why I do my allied strategy this way. And like I said earlier, I do this regardless of whether they're coming after the Russians or the French first. Go after this territory. You see what I mean? Like you want me to move all of these units out of here, and you want me to move a couple of units up here and these other units over here. That's going to leave Trieste open. There's going to be nothing on Trieste. These guys are just going to do a walk on over on Trieste there, and you're going to go into Budapest, or from Serbia to Romania. You don't have enough troops to like you're probably almost going to be taken out there. Certainly you'll be taken out on the next turn. And then there's enough Russians back here that they've got some options, right? And we'll talk about that more when it's Russia's turn. But I just wanted to show you that I think that at this point you have to adjust your strategy a little bit, because you're not going to be able to get to Paris and to Rome in time if you're in economic collapse, and that's what's going to happen. You're going to lose this one, perhaps Galatia, and the Germans are going to be in trouble too, because if it was up to me, I would have put a couple of guys here and a couple of guys here. Even just two on each of those, I probably wouldn't have attacked them. But now, I've got the option of, just dropping one guy on each one and taking 6 IPCs, which is, that's going to replace the cost of those guys and force the Germans to go get them, wasting some of their precious time and cutting their troops in half over here. Or I could put a whole bunch in each of them. Like I've got, I could split these forces up, take every one of these things in there, and then contest this territory, and then all you've got to take them back is the guys on Berlin, and that's it. So I could take these guys for them, not all of them out, but I could probably take most of them, and I could have lots of crap on both of these without enough guys from Berlin to come back and get them. So your eastern front here is going to collapse really soon. I don't think it's going to take. I don't think that you're going to get to Paris in time before the Eastern Front collapses. And when it does collapse, there's not much in there. I can get those guys in economic collapse pretty quickly. So unless the Germans and the Austrians start backtracking a bit, I don't know that they can do it. It made a big difference too when I redid this down here, because now the UK is going to be able to help out probably one turn sooner, maybe even 2 up there, and they can even help out a little bit because they've got their boats down here, so they could be building troops down here and transporting a few of them up, and taking their time, a little more time with these guys, and diverting some of their troops up to here, right? Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do what you wanted me to. I'm going to move some guys over to Budapest to Romania, and unfortunately, like I'm going to have to bring 3 of those guys at least over here, and even then I might not be able to get the Russians off. But there just isn't the number of troops over here to do everything, right? So I'll just give it a shot. I'll be back after the Austrians' turn. Alrighty then, that was a lot of rolling. So thankfully for the Austrians, they got air superiority here, and that made a huge difference. The French weren't able to take off as many units as they would have liked, and of course the Austrians were able to take off everything. And when you have a battle with so many artillery like there was in there, that makes a big difference. And you can see it looks like I have an awful lot left there, and I do, but the thing is, if they would have lost that air superiority, they would have needed those extra units to take out Switzerland. Because if you look in behind here, they weren't able to take out Venice. In fact, they're a ways from taking out Venice. And you think, well, you could have put more in there, and that's true. But the thing is, this one was the one fight they could not lose, because the whole plan is, as far as I understand it, breaks down if you do not take out Switzerland on this turn, because the Germans need to go to Burgundy on round 2. And so that one had to succeed even more than Venice. Like after this, the Germans go in here and then they bring their units up, then these guys can come down and take Venice. But it didn't work the other way around, so I made sure to take enough units to get Switzerland. But it's on the Eastern Front that I'd be worried. The units that went from Romania into Romania from Serbia, they almost got wiped out because they were outnumbered big time when they went in there. And as far as Galicia, they did take enough. They took in 4 units up here to Galicia, and they were able to take out the 2 Russians, which means a lot, because that means without that territory being contested, that means that you can't bring in units from 2 spaces away from Russia into Galicia. I mean, you can bring the fighter in, but you can't bring the ground units into Galicia from 2 spaces away to try and wipe out that stack of Germans. So that was another thing that had to happen. I couldn't remember when it comes to the rules if you were allowed to go in here and not attack. I know that you're allowed to go in there and not attack if it was already contested, but I didn't think that you were allowed to walk in there when it was hostile territory and not attack. So they attacked and they almost got wiped out, and it's a good thing for them they had 1 left, or these guys would be walking into Budapest. I did leave 1 guy in Trieste. I didn't, as it turned out, I could have left a couple more, but who knows about the air superiority before you get there, right? So I did leave 1 guy in there, just to make it a little more difficult for those guys in Albania. They're going to come up and take it anyway, but looks like it's the only one they're going to lose. I'd be surprised if the Russians were able to take out Galicia this time. They might be able to. They're definitely going to take out Trieste, and they can't get Budapest because they have to take Romania first. They can't just leave Romania when it's a contested territory and go into the hostile territory. So it is Russia's turn. So definitely these Russians are going to be attacking these Russians. It's up here that I'm wondering, like I could do a few different things here. It's these 2 empty territories that have got me stumped here. Like I'd like to take everything I have against Galicia here, but I really feel like I should be taking a couple of guys up there. So what I think I'm going to do, and I don't know if this is the right thing to do or not, I'm going to take these guys up there, and then the rest of them are going to go to Galicia along with the artillery. And these are the only other guys that can reach Galicia right here, so I'll throw those in there as well. Those are the guys from the Ukraine. So that's all going to Galicia. And then the fighter's going to go in there, of course, because we got all those artillery in there. You're way better off using them there than anywhere else because of the number of artillery, right? The fighter doesn't help your infantry, just your artillery, and if you had tanks, which you don't. So I think also I'm going to want to move some guys up here. And then I want to move more to Romania because I have that contested. They can move to 2 spaces. And you know, let's move them all up there, okay? Oh, I guess I should tell you what I purchased. I purchased 4 infantry and 4 artillery. They had 28 IPCs. So there you go, right there. 28 IPCs. There wasn't a lot of air power on the board over on this side over here for the central powers. With everybody going that way, I thought, okay, you know, maybe this fighter's going to survive, so maybe I don't need another one this turn. I'll buy one next turn, but this turn I thought I'll just buy all ground units because that always helps. And then there's this thing here too, right? This thing that was saved. Now you don't have to go through a minefield when you're leaving. So I'm just going to go 1. Now I could take a look at this. So I could stay there. And this would be help protecting the boats down here. But there is no other boats around, right? With those Ottoman boats taken out, and there's no way that Germans, like the Germans are way up there, then they don't really need protection. So I think what I'm going to do is keep going to Sea Zone 16 up there, and they're going to make their way up to the Atlantic. So when the Americans come across, there'll be an extra cruiser in the. So it'll probably be Sea Zone 8 where they're going to go to. That'll provide more protection for the transports that are going to be coming across from America and of course from Great Britain there. So is that it? I think so. I think that's all the Russians moved. That battleship's not going anywhere. Yep, so that's it. So I'll roll this up and I'll be back. Okay, it's Monday morning. It's Labor Day. And it's my granddaughter's 5th birthday today, so starting off fresh this morning. I gotta go to a birthday party later. I did finish rolling the Russian turn yesterday though, and as you can see, it's not looking good for the Central Powers right now, and that's what I was afraid of. I mean, it looks good on the Eastern Front there, but I don't think that they have enough. I was hoping that this strategy would work, and you know what? Maybe it would, depending on the rolling, right? Like, I think that the Central Powers need to win the rolling battle in order to win this game, no matter what strategy you do. And I think the rolling's been pretty close in this game. I'm not sure if one side's slightly above the other, but it has been, it needs to be definitely one-sided. But you look here, and this is what I was talking about in the first time I made the video, the one that I screwed up on the other day, is going after the little brothers. Like the British goes after this little brother down here, and then everybody else, the Russians, the French, and the Italians all gang up on the Austrians. Everybody defends themselves against the Germans, but they don't attack the Germans. They just defend themselves the best they can. And even France, who's under siege over there, they keep sending units, or they're going to keep sending units to Piedmont as long as possible. They might not be able to do it this turn, but because of those 2 British boats there, they might not have to. Like, they could take a turn off from sending units to Piedmont. And I think that Piedmont is a key space during this game, because if the Allies can maintain control of Piedmont, then the Axis, or sorry, the Austrians can't put the Italians in economic collapse, and so that's kind of a key to and that's the way I've been playing this, and maybe that's the whole reason why they can't do it, because they just can't seem to get the Italians in economic collapse the way that I play the game, and you know, like you surround the Austrians, you get them down on the ground, and you lay the boots to them, right? and eventually Germany's got to stop whatever they're doing, whether it's going after the Russians or going after the French, and they have to come down here because, as you can see, like you take a look here, after the Russians rolling is finished here, like these guys got free reign to come in here, unless you come up there with these units. Like they've got quite a few units here for the Ottomans. I mean, the Ottomans really want to go back and defend themselves against the British, but if they don't take Romania, then I don't know what's going to happen. Like, all you've got is these guys on Vienna here that can reach Galicia, but they also have to go to Budapest. Trieste is going to be open. Like, this is going to fall this turn. The Italians are going to take Trieste this turn, and not only is Austria in trouble, but the Allies, going to be getting lots of money. Like you look at, it's possible, not likely but possible, that the Italians could get this back. Then they haven't lost any one of their other territories. They'll be able to take Trieste. They have Albania. Unless unless the Ottomans move something over to Serbia, they're going to have Serbia. So there's another 2 IPCs, and they're going to take an IPC down here in this German territory when this guy moves over here. So they're up a lot of money, and the Russians on the next turn, they'll be up a lot of money. In fact, they were up a lot of money here because of those 2 territories that were left open by the Germans. It's too much. I don't see how the Central Powers can win this game at this point. I mean, if they roll unbelievably well right now, then perhaps they could do it. But anyways, the Germans' turn, and the Germans have, instead of buying a fighter this time, they bought all ground units. They're going to need them. They got 6 infantry and 6 artillery. That's 42 IPCs. So let's take a look in here. Here, before we do anything, let's just move these boats back here, because we're going to do that anyway. Then we got more room to put the camera in here. Okay, so Jonathan's strategy is here. I'll just move them now, and then we'll talk about that. So this guy's going to move over into Burgundy, and that was the key part of the strategy, is going for that. And then the fighter's going to come in there as well. And then these things are all going to go into Switzerland so that they can go into Burgundy next time. Now all this is well and good. Everything here looks great. And these guys move up, and these guys move up. So they should be able to win all of those fights. And that's going to be great. But then look behind it there. There's absolutely no Germans in behind them. And then over here on this side, there's no way they can spare any of these guys, because they've got to take back these 2 territories here, and then this one over here, like they can't even reach that one because Silesia is gone. So there's nothing they can do. They're outmanned over there. The Russians have air superiority, and the Russians have more units than they do. So all they could do, they can't even attack them. Basically, they've just got to sit there. And there's not much for Austrians to come up there and help them out. Austrians have got to worry about the south down there. They can't just worry about their eastern flank. So I just think that they're going to get overwhelmed. But it does look good over here, doesn't it? It looks great. If you had units coming in behind, and if the eastern flank was covered, then everything would be perfect. But that's not the case. So anyway, that's the only moves. Let's go down to Africa there. We'll just move those units down there too. Okay. So, yeah, there's not much they can do there. This guy can move, and this guy can move. Probably would be a good idea is to bring this guy in here, try to take this British guy out, and just move this guy up. That's about the only thing. They can't move this guy at all, really. They can move him to Southwest Africa, but that's not doing them any good. They can't move from here because that's an enemy territory. Same as here, you can't move from a contested territory into enemy territory, or hostile territory, I guess the proper word is. Anyway, so that's about all they can do down here. So I will be back. Okay, so yeah, it looks pretty good for the Germans, and they rolled pretty well over here. They were able to take Burgundy, and they were able to take Picardy. They had just enough hits to take these, or sorry, no, Lorraine. They had just enough hits to take out Lorraine, and they almost took out Picardy. And then they've got those units in behind, in reserve in Switzerland, that can move up to probably Burgundy. We'll see what happens here on the next on the next turn. I forgot to show you the moves over here. As soon as I turned the camera off, I looked over and oh crap, I forgot to move those. So anyway, what I did was I moved, and the Germans never lost any units over here, so this is exactly what they moved. 3 and 1 into here, and 4 and 1 into here. Now these guys managed to get the 2 hits and took the 2 Russians off, but over here nobody hit the Germans nor the Russians. So that's the way it all shook out over here, and they placed their 6 infantry and 6 artillery on, and they moved their boats back, of course. So I'm looking at this, and I was talking a bit about Piedmont there last time, and how I like to control that. I think that's a key to this game. And in looking at the 2 British guys down there on Transjordan there, I really don't want to take those either, but I think I will. See, these boats here can move 3 spaces. They're at a harbor, so they can go 1, 2 over there, pick them up, come back 1, and then they can put the 2 British guys on Piedmont. And these guys aren't going to do any good attacking these ones, right? Unless, like, we'll see, because the guys in Paris are going to attack these ones. So, you know, if there's just 1 unit left or something, then maybe they'll do it. But what I was thinking is moving them up here and moving the other Brits up here, so that there's 4 on Piedmont again. I just think because, you know, like if you can keep Piedmont, then you can keep these guys safe. These guys are going to run out of units, of course, because they're going to have to go the other way. So these units are all that they've got to try and take Rome. And of course, Rome's going to get more money on the next turn after they take Trieste and who knows whatever else. So, but anyway, then the other thing is France is about to take their turn, and you can see that that's what they purchased there, 7 infantry and an artillery. Now, normally I take these guys down to Piedmont or somewhere around there. That's what I've always done every single game, but I've never been in this sort of position before. So what I think I could do this time, and this could be the first time I lose just all the French boats too, because they're always in the Mediterranean, and they're always okay. But I've already lost the battleship and the cruiser in that fight with the Austrians. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them over here with the transports, and I'm going to bring the 3 infantry and the artillery. So what's going to happen now? The Germans will probably want to, like, they'll stand this up at the start of their turn, and they'll probably come after these boats here, or they might, I don't know. I guess these boats aren't really hurting them anymore. There's only 1 more guy they could possibly pick up, but they could go after them, but they would have to go through 2 minefields to get there. So there's 1 minefield there and 1 minefield there. So they'd be taking a chance with those boats. But I mean, they could do that, right? But then, like I said, I just noticed that these boats aren't really going to hurt them anymore. Not for at least 2 turns anyway. So maybe they will leave those boats. But anyway, the French are able to at least try to have this contested by the end of their turn, because they're going to need to put like, they're going to come down here from Piedmont, and they're going to, you know what, let's just move 1 of these guys over and the rest of them in Burgundy, right? So that looks a little bit better. I think there's no, yeah, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Geez, I don't know. What I really want to do is contest both of them, right? I might have to bring another unit in there. Here, let's just bring this unit over here too. I know I'm not going to be able to take out either one of these. But what I really want to do is contest them so that they can't move on, right? This is going to have to be a good attack if I do that though, because the Austrians can move in there and take out what's left of the French, and then the Germans can move on. So I wonder if I should keep this guy back over here. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep this guy over here. And then, of course, the British, the other thing the British can do, the British can move into here and bring their other 2 units up to here. We'll see what happens after the French turn. So the other thing is, this French guy is not going to move. But the one that you see down there, I'm going to move him up to Togoland. I can't reach him from here. I'm sitting down. So that's what I'm going to do. And I guess that's all there is. I'm looking around. There's no other French units on the board. So I'll be back. Okay, so you know, I thought about it. I was taking a good long look at the board to see how I could defend best on this, and while I was thinking about it, I thought, you know what, rather than come across here and attack these guys, I haven't moved any men. I still move the same amount of men in there. Rather than attack them, I can do an amphibious reinforcement. And if I do that, then they're not going to get the 3 shots with their artillery. I won't get to use the battleship on a bombardment shot, but at least they won't be able to use these artillery, because they're going to get 3 extra shots against me if I do an assault there. So what I did was I just did a reinforcement instead. And then it's still going to be the same battle. The Germans are still going to attack them, but they're not going to get those 3 extra shots. And then in here, the French weren't able to take them out, but they took them down pretty good. There's only 1 of each unit left: 1 infantry, 1 artillery, and the fighter. But the Germans were able to defend really well. I think they took 5 or 6 units off because of that fighter there. Their 6 artillery fought really well. Actually, I think the French got 6 hits as well, but they had more units in there. But anyway, it was a good fight there. So now what's going to happen? It's the UK turn, and I've taken a good long look at it. And remember I was talking about the option of bringing those guys up here, but I didn't really want to. I really wanted to fill in Piedmont there with a couple of guys, but I've had another thought instead. And it's going to help in a couple of different ways. Let me move this back so we can see the British Isles here. Okay, so I am going to take those boats, like I said, and they will go 3 spaces, so they can come to here, right? Well, I'm going to take those guys, and these 2 guys, and I'm going to bring them across. An amphibious reinforcement. They're obviously not going to attack those Germans. And now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take, since there's no more French guys to move around, I'm going to put 2 British on each one of these transports here. I can't move them across the water right now because they're not British transports, they're French transports. Even though they don't have to move anywhere, you still have to wait a turn. So like these on the French turn, the French transports could move, and then I could drop the British off. In fact, if I wanted to move them around to Marseille, I could do that. But they do have to wait a turn before they could get dropped off. And so I'm going to do that. And because there's no transports in the water, I don't have to worry about London getting taken. So I might as well move some more guys over here since we've got transports down there that we can use, right? So let's just move a bunch of guys over. And also remember, that French boat that was saved up there. Remember, I said we'll see when we need him. Well, we're gonna bring him up on the, or sorry, Russian boat. We're gonna bring that Russian cruiser up into this sea zone as well, because now we've got loaded transports over here, right? And they're going to be loaded when the German turn comes around. So they're wishing they've got some submarines right now, but they don't. They might take a shot anyway. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? You got to go through a couple of minefields, and then you're going to have a battleship and 2 cruisers. But you never know, you might be able to take them out, right? And it's not going to help them too much to, or hurt them too bad to lose those boats. So it's possible that that's what they all do. But we'll see. We'll maybe we'll purchase more boats. But the problem is, if they purchase more boats, then next thing you know, the Americans are going to be there, and then they'll never get into that sea zone. So we'll take a closer look at that. Anyway, that's what's happening. Oh, there is one more thing happening over here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these guys in here, because that gives them, what is it, 5, 6, 7, 8 units that the Austrians would have to take out. Here, let's just move this camera around to a different angle so you can see a bit more. Now, the problem, the reason I'm doing that is I'm trying to make it a real problem for the Austrians. They've got to make a choice here, right? Look at, they could come in here and they could take out these guys here, the 8 guys here. They might have enough here because they've got 5, 6, 7, and 6 artillery and a fighter. And if they can take that, then then these guys can leave, right? They can move to, they can move a space. They can either take Bordeaux or Marseille, and that puts France into economic collapse. And that means that France, who what did they collect here this time? I think 20 IPCs. That means that France can't buy any units. And that's what the goal of this strategy was, to get them into economic collapse as quick as possible, right? So that accomplishes the goal. But the problem is, if you do that, look what else the Austrians have. Nothing, right? If these guys all go this way, what is it, you know, like these guys still get a turn, right? And the same down here. And these guys are going to go here. This might get lost when you bring these up here. It's probably not going to be lost, but it's probably going to be contested. If these guys don't come back, then the Austrians are completely screwed. There's no way that they're going to be able to save themselves if all these guys here go forward to Burgundy. So that's why I'm moving those British guys in there, and that's why it's a real drag I couldn't move the other British guys in here. I just thought in the long run, putting all of those units on into France was better than just putting those 2 British units into Piedmont. So anyway, let's carry on with the British turn. I believe I moved everybody up that's up there. So what do we got down here? You know what? I better go and grab the chips here while you take a look at what the British are looking at down here. I left the chips over on the other side of the board there. Okay. So we got to take on the Ottomans now, and we have to do our moves in. Actually, I don't know that there is any moves over here, is there? Geez, the Germans are looking pretty good over here right now. Yeah, I don't think I have any moves over there. This guy's going to attack this guy this turn, but these guys aren't going to attack, because you're attacking at 2 and defending at 3. So you're better off defending there, right? But this guy's going to attack. He'll have 2 at 3 against 1 at 3. Okay, so back over here. Let's take a look down here. Now I've got, we can bring this transport and this cruiser over here. So we've got 2 transports. So we can bring 2 dudes and 2 artillery over. And we can move these ones up. And we can move these ones up. And then we've got all of these ones down here. Now, what would we have here? We would have 3 infantry and 2 artillery. So it would be even in number of units, but they would have more artillery there. So perhaps it would be best, like we could attack Syria, or we could move these into here. And maybe that would be best, because then we could at least have a shot at taking these guys out. And Syria is only worth 1. So I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to move these guys up into here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave one guy back though. Just so the Syrians have to think twice about coming down here, because they're 2 at 2 and this guy's 1 at 3. And the fighter, of course, is going to go into Persia here. You know what? We could bring the fighter over here. And then that would help. Because we have 4 artillery, we would be upscaling 4 artillery as opposed to upscaling 2 artillery in Persia. So let's do that instead. And I think that's all the British units on the board. Anyway, I'll take care of this now. Okay, so that wasn't a completely successful turn for the British. Although there was attack there that they could have done worse. They did manage to get the German out here, and he didn't hit back, so they gained that territory. And they're up 1 territory here and down 1 territory, and so they're even, and they're even all across the board here because, oh no, there was 1 up. I didn't see that. Okay, so yeah, they came into here, and the 2 artillery managed to hit 1. But then after that, with all those units, they only managed to hit 1 more. So they only took 2 infantry off the British here. But the British weren't able to take them out either. They didn't roll very well on their attack. And the Persians here, they're still hanging on. They still got a dude left. They managed to hit. Not only did they survive, but they also managed to take 2 British off. So second time in a row. Like last Sunday, I played Rich Jerstad, and it took me 3 turns to get Persia, and it's going to take me 3 turns to get them this time again. So they're not doing so well. Now the Ottomans, they were able to purchase 5 infantry because they had 15 IPCs this time. So they're doing pretty well so far, gotta say. That's why the British had to leave these 2 units down here as opposed to taking them up to Marseille, or sorry, to Piedmont. These guys here, this is where I'm kind of stuck as what to do with these guys, because I think that they have to go against the Russians here. But you look at that, that's just suicide, right? They're going to probably. They'll probably contest it, but you know, they could get wiped out, but they'll probably contest it. And if they contest it, then that means that the Russians can't move into Budapest. And also there's Germans up there in Galicia, so that the Russians wouldn't be able to move into Budapest from Galicia either. And I think that's what they're going to have to do, because you look over here, and the Albanians are going to move into Trieste. It's almost certain that they'll take it, although there's only 6 units there, so they have to get 1 hit in order to take that guy off. But the Austrians are hurting bad up there, and they're going to need some help. I mean, wouldn't it be great if these 8 infantry and an artillery were able to come down here, because these guys are doing quite well down here, right, aren't they? They're going to be able to repel this attack here now. And I don't think it's a good idea to come in here, because it's only worth 1 IPC. If it was worth more than 1, I would consider doing that. But if they wanted to, they could actually attack Mesopotamia. That would keep the British down for a while, wouldn't it? Because the British can move 4 more units across here, right? So you have to kind of count that up and think, okay, should I reinforce it or should I take it? Because you can move units in here without taking it, right? I'm definitely going to move units in though. Let's leave these guys down in Syria to defend against this guy. Let's move this guy up here. I should probably leave one on Smyrna too, because their boats can also come. Wait a minute. 1, 2. Oh yeah, that's not a harbor. The British boats can't make it to there, can they? So, yeah, they can only go to here. This is what I'm looking at down here. The British boats. See, they can go 1, 2 to here. They can't go to here because this isn't a harbor, surprisingly. So, so I could move this guy in from Smyrna, and I think move one more down as well. Let's put that down there for now. Yeah, the only thing that could come down and get Smyrna is the Italians, and they definitely don't want to do that. They've got their own fish to fry up there. So then it's these guys. I think move everybody in, regardless of whether or not they're going to attack them. I'll decide. I'll take some time and decide. I've got to pour some more coffee anyway. I'll have some coffee and work out the numbers. Decide whether I should attack this or just reinforce it. But those are the moves anyway. So, oh, and this one here. I think these guys are going to have to do this. Even though the Ottomans would be doing great if they could bring those home, they're going to have to attack Romania there and hope that they still have some units left after that attack is over. Not so sure that they will. But, that's the great thing about coming down here. That's one of the things that I like is that you're not only putting pressure on Budapest as the Russian player, but you're putting pressure on the Ottomans as well, and you do have the option, right? You could go this way or you could go this way. Like if your attack is going well up further north there, then these guys can always come down here as well. Anyway, that's what they're going to do. They're going to move in there and hope for the best. Okay, so up here in Mesopotamia, I decided not to attack that. I looked at the numbers and I thought, you know what? Because they only have 2 artillery and they were only able to upscale 2 infantry, they'd be better off not attacking because that's only 4 at 3, whereas if they defend, that's 8 at 3, right? So that's why I decided not to. And it's a good thing too, because after I'd done all the rolling and everything, I was about to turn the camera back on and I took another look at it. I thought, you know what, I'm not going to do it, but what would happen if I did? And so I did roll this just for shits and giggles, and the Ottoman only got 1 hit and the British got 3 hits. So it was a good choice. Now down here, the British did not put up any sort of fight whatsoever. They were able to take them out. The Ottomans were able to take them out, and they did not lose any. Up here, that was a good idea for sure, taking this. I think they both got 4 hits here, so that's like they've got quite a few left, right? They've got what 5 units left here. So the Russians are actually going to have to put some effort into taking this out now, and that's going to save Budapest for another turn. And now the Russians, they're not too flush with units back there either. So they've got the Germans to contend with and that big German force back there. It's too bad that these guys are not doing better. Like it's close. You know what I mean? With the rolling, it could go either way. It's close, but I would say the advantage has to go to the Allies. If all you had to do was take Paris or to put France into economic collapse, then I'd say they'd have a better chance. But they've also got to get Rome, and to try to get Rome and Paris and save yourself over here, that's gonna be a real challenge. So they're gonna have to roll extremely well. So then we come to Italy's turn. Before I forget, I'm just going to move this guy over here so that guy's going to pick up 1 IPC down there. I'll just throw that pie on down there. Okay, so and then I think these guys are going to go over here with 1 and take this. Actually, that just makes that Russian, doesn't it? Well, you know what? The Russians could use the money too, right? So let's just throw that Russian pie on there. Okay, so and then these guys, let's hope that they don't fail now in taking Trieste, because I did that. So these guys are all going to Trieste, of course. All they need to do is get 1 hit there. and the battleship is going to come out. It's not doing us any good in there. If it was there and it wasn't damaged, then different story. You could leave it up there. And yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these 2 units into here. It would have been nice if I didn't have to. And then these ones up here are going to go into here. And unlike that battle with the Ottomans there, I've got more artillery than dudes in there. So I think I am going to take a shot at them. Because every hit I get is going to be taken off, is going to be Austrian artillery taken off, because they've only got 1 dude left, so they can't lose the dude. They have to lose the artillery, and I could get at least 2 or 3 hits on this. I might even be able to wipe it out. You never know. But yeah, like if these guys take this out and these guys take this out, then that's going to make it an easy choice for the Austrians. They're not going to be able to go after that up there, because they just don't have enough in Vienna. With this guy in Serbia here, I just saw that too. With this guy in Serbia, they are going to have to defend Budapest, because these guys can't move in, these guys can't move in, but this guy can move in here next turn. So the Austrians are going to have to defend this one way or another. The Ottomans cannot reach him unless the Russians were to leave, right? If the Russians left, then the Ottomans could attack them, but they can't go from a contested territory to a hostile territory. So that's the way it looks here. Yeah, and all I bought there was 2 infantry and 2 artillery, same as before. And so yeah, that's the only attack, the only 2 attacks I'm gonna do, I guess. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so that's done. The Austrians were able to take off 1 guy here. They didn't even these guys took this out here. They got the hit that they needed, and they still didn't even roll all their dice yet. So they got a hit when they rolled for the 3s. And here they managed to get 4 hits. If they'd have got 5, they'd have taken it out, but they got all 4 of the artillery, and the Austrians were only able to get 1 hit, so they took 1 dude off. That was it. So that's not looking good for the Austrians at all. They needed a better roll than that. They needed the roll to go exactly the opposite of that. Take off 4 hits, and then the Italians only get 1 hit. And of course they took this down there. So that means that in total they're up 5. Just taking a look around here. They're up 5. So they're up to 19 IPCs. Okay, the Americans here. This is going to be pretty damn easy. They're going to buy, they got 22 IPCs right now. They're going to buy 1 artillery and 3 transports. I didn't need to buy any more warships because there is a battleship and a cruiser in there, and then we've got that Russian cruiser there. He's coming up here as well. So I think with these 2 battleships and the cruiser, these guys can just concentrate on just buying ground units and infantry from now on, or ground units and transports now. What do we do? This is the 2nd turn, right? The end of the 2nd turn. So I was going to keep going and finish this game off, but you know, I think that I should stop and upload this and let Jonathan take another look here and to see if there's something that he would do, because really the big decision in the game here, the one that's going to go one way or the other, is you see how many's here, and I'm going to show you this, Jonathan, and I'm going to upload it, and you can tell me what you think. So they have 7 infantry, 6 artillery, and a fighter. Now they could go in here, and there are, 5 infantry, an artillery, and then these 2. So 6 infantry and 2 artillery all together. So they might be able to get this if they go in all in, right? But then you look back here, and we have there's 2 guys on Piedmont, so it'd be nice to be able to take Piedmont. There's this on Venice. I mean, there's an awful lot of units over here, and when you look, Venice and Trieste here, right? So there's no way that the Germans are going to be able to help you here right now. I guess the one thing, if you're looking at it this way, is that these guys could go into here, and then these guys, these Germans here, could come down to Piedmont and could come down to Venice, and then these guys can move up to get them in economic collapse. And also you need to look over here, because yeah, things are not looking good there, bud. But it's not all lost yet. Like I said, there's a couple of things you could do. You could put these guys in economic collapse if you were able to take out these units here. And in order to do that, I think you'd need everybody from Austria there. But doing that means that you're sacrificing the homeland there, because I don't even think that you have enough units on Vienna just to take Trieste. And then even if you were to do that, well, then you still got that unit down here that's going to walk onto Budapest, because there's no way that you could get any Germans down here either. Looks like one way or another you're going to lose Budapest, unless you move guys down here, right? Like you could say not go after that up there and bring your units back. So attack this, and then these guys attack this and reinforce here, so that you're keeping yourself around. Because you got to remember, like even if you put France into economic collapse up there, then what are you going to do with Rome? They collected 19 APCs, so they're going to be doing better down here one way or another. They're going to be able to put 5 infantry and an artillery on their next turn. There's no way you can get them into economic collapse on the next turn. It sure makes a difference when you take these boats out. I tell you, anybody watching this video, that's one thing that you should think about if you've never thought about it before, is taking these boats out on the first turn, because that saves Tuscany, right? Unless Austria brings over those guys in Tuscany on the first turn, and even if they do, you can wipe them out, right? But even if they do that, they'll never ever drop guys on Tuscany again. And you definitely have the boats to do that. You go in there with the French, and if you can't get them with the French, then you go in there with the Italians. And if you can't get them out again, which would be unusual, then you've still got another French battleship that was over there at the time, right? So you and then you've got the British down there. Like, you could get them out of there. There's no doubt about it. Getting them out as soon as possible is one good way of keeping Italy out of economic collapse, and sending French units down. Like this game has been hard to use the French in anything other than defense. But normally what I do is I've got a steady stream of French, and not many, like just two maybe 3 every turn going into Piedmont. So doing that every single time, and taking those boats out, saves Italy's ass. So then you can maybe get France, and you could maybe get the Russia over there. Like, it's difficult, isn't it? It is so difficult to try and win this game as the Central Powers. It's just that there's just no room for error, and you've got to roll lights out to get there. Like, this is a good plan that you came up with, Jonathan. If you roll absolutely perfectly, not perfectly, but if you roll really well, if you outroll the other side, then I think it can happen. And it still might happen, but you can see how it's getting slimmer and slimmer. Like, we've got these boats up here, and that's another thing maybe you can put in the comments. There's that Russian cruiser there is going to be there before the Germans go again. That German battleship is going to be repaired. Do you want to go for a suicide run with those 2 boats and go after the French battleship and the British and Russian cruisers, and going through 2 minefields to get there? Do you want to do that? Because if you do, then you're going to get 2 loaded transports and another British transport as well. I think that's probably worth doing, even though it's a slim chance to be able to take them out. but maybe you can leave a note in the comments whether or not you want to go for that suicide run. And hope that it isn't a suicide run. Hopefully you take them out. So that's the way it looks. That's the way it looks after the second round. And I'll go around and pan around here. The Germans are actually doing pretty good down here. They've still got 2 units left, and the British only have 3 units left. There's 1 French unit and 1 Italian unit. So this is not decided down here yet, although it is certainly leaning towards the Allies. It's not quite decided yet. With good rolling, the Germans could hang on down here. Although, like I said, the other guys have the inside track. The Ottomans are definitely doing well, better than they usually do in the games that I play. So they're doing pretty well, but you can see the number of British units that are piling in there. They're definitely going to get Persia this time, right? And then after that, the floodgates are opened. There's no pussyfooting around and going through transports and everything. Those transports will be coming around this way at that point, right? They'll be going after Transjordan, and the other guys will be going in there. But they're going to need to take another turn to take that out. But these guys held on pretty good. It's these guys. It's the other little brother that's not doing so well over here. In fact, they're doing quite awful. And of course, the Russians got a lot of money this turn as well, so they're going to be able to put a number of units on because they had those 2 territories over there, and they were up over here as well. They weren't down anything, so they were up. I think they were up 9, and they're going to be up again this turn. So that's the way it looks over there. Get a good look at it from this angle over here. The Germans got quite a number of units back here. You know, they're doing good there. But I tell you, if they can't afford to take any this way, I would seriously think about taking some of those German units over this way. Even though you definitely need them all this way, I don't know that you've got enough to take this over here. Right? These guys will be coming down in. These guys can come down in. So maybe one more turn you could put France in economic collapse if you decided, yeah, definitely in one more turn you could get France in economic collapse instead of the turn coming up, and then the Americans are in, right? So is that too late? That's the question. There's the American Navy there. 3 transports, 6 infantry, 3 artillery. Anyway, that's the way it looks from the war room in Prince George. Take care, everyone. General Hand Grenade out.